A very, very warm welcome to all of you. And today is the last class on your topic PGBP. I am C. Ridhima Bhatia, and we'll be discussing basically something related to speculation business, ICDS, and few questions. So today's class would be all about your queries, your doubts, any topic you want to revise, any topic you want to do again. We will definitely give and devote time to you. So more than anything on my input today, it's all about how much you want to participate today. So please take use of this opportunity and solve all your queries in regard to PGBP. Up till last class, I think we have almost covered everything regarding computation of the business income and other provisions like audits, presumptive taxation. So if you have any doubt before we proceed to today's topic, please let me know. And a very good evening to everyone. You can settle in and then we can start. Yeah, Jeannie.
गुड इवनिंग मैम।
Very good evening.
मैम ये पेज नंबर 3.125 पे जो कीमैन इंश्योरेंस वो
हाँ हाँ
उससे रिलेटेड जो पॉइंट है ना, उसमें एक नीचे एक केस का डिसीजन दिया हुआ है बाय पंजाब, ऐसा को पंजाब सर, पंजाब एक केस दिया हुआ है पेज
हाँ
नंबर
मैं एक
125 पे।
मैं खोलती हूँ, जस्ट 1 सेकेंड.
यस।
पेज नंबर
3.125।
125. ओके. इस पे हमें ये दिया हुआ है. हम्म. हाँ, तो इसमें कहाँ डाउट है?
इसमें जो ये केस दिया हुआ है ना, द हाई कोर्ट ऑफ पंजाब एंड हरियाणा,
हाँ हाँ
लास्ट पैराग्राफ है एकदम।
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
हाँ, इसके अंदर ये जो कुछ लैंग्वेज है ना, ये कुछ समझ में नहीं आई मैम इसके अंदर।
देखो, इसमें बेसिकली वो ये कह रहे हैं कि कीमैन इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी का वी नो, जब कीमैन क्या होता है, द मेन मैन ऑफ द बिजनेस, राइट, जिसपे
हाँ
बिजनेस मेजरली रिलायबल होता है, राइट. सो
जी।
व्हेन आई एज अ बिजनेस, दैट इज आई एज अ फर्म और आई एज अ कंपनी इज पेइंग एनी प्रीमियम फॉर द की मैन, for the main man of the business, that means because if he will be all right, the business would be all right, right? So that is the intention, that ultimately the business will get benefit. Ultimately the business would get benefit. So easily, whenever a premium for a key man person is paid for the insurance of that key man person, it is allowed as a business expenditure because it is considered that ultimately the health of the person or the life of the person will impact the life of the business. So that's why it is an allowable business expenditure. And that's the same thing it's written. The said policy, when obtained to secure a life of a partner, to safeguard the firm against the disruption of the business, is equally for the benefit of the partnership business, which may be
मैंने
affected as a result of premature death of a partner. कि अगर जो मेन मैन है, if he dies, then the business would get impact, right? So basically, considering that thing only, they have said that the key मैन का जो भी प्रीमियम है ऑन द की मैन इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी ऑफ द पार्टनर ऑफ द फर्म इज होली एंड एक्सक्लूसिवली फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ बिजनेस एंड इज एन अलाउबल एक्सपेंडिचर.
जी मैम,
और
एक्चुअली वो जो लाइन आपने अभी पढ़ी ना, ये डिस्ट्रप्शन वाली, ये लाइन की वजह से थोड़ा मैं कंफ्यूज हो गई थी।
कोई नहीं, कोई नहीं. जब भी ऐसा हो ना, ब्रेक द लाइन एंड देन यू रीड. कहीं पे भी लॉ पढ़ते टाइम भी
जी
रीड विद पॉजेस, इट वुड बी इजी. ठीक है.
मैम, एक क्वेश्चन और था, यानी
हाँ हाँ
एक जनरल क्वेश्चन था कि
हाँ.
यानी ये पूरा का पूरा मैंने पढ़ा, जैसे कि ये पूरा चैप्टर है ना,
पीजीबीपी,
तो
हाँ.
हाँ पूरा चैप्टर पढ़ा, इसके सेक्शंस को रिमेम्बर रखने की कोशिश करी, लेकिन फिर लास्ट में सारा यानी एक वन वर्ड में कहूँ तो वाष्पी भवन जैसा हो जाता है। तो
व्हाट
फिर
इज दैट वास्की भवन?
यानी जितना याद कर लेते हैं ना, फिर बाद में वो उतना ऐसा लगता है सब खिचड़ी बन जाता है, इधर का उधर उधर का उधर ऐसा हो जाता है।
और अभी तो बहुत सारे सेक्शन है आने को. कैपिटल गेन है, टीडीएस टीसीएस है, बहुत सारे. सब इसका बेस्ट तरीका क्या है, आपने सारे सेक्शंस एक जगह लिख लेंगे, ठीक है.
जी
और ऐसे डीप सब सेक्शंस में नहीं जाना. यू हैव टू बेसिकली फोकस ऑन जैसे सेक्शन 36 सबसेक्शन 1 लिख लिया, उसमें आपने लिख लिया अदर डिडक्शंस है, एंड जस्ट लिस्ट लिख लिया व्हाट इट इज इट। सबसेक्शन 1 क्लॉज मत याद रखो अगर इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है। 32 ये सब जो मेन मेन सेक्शन है एक जगह लिखे, पढ़े, इसके प्रोविजंस को अभी इसका सारांश भी मैं अपडेट करके अपलोड कर दूंगी आजकल में। एक बार गो थ्रू करा बस, और अब वो पेपर को स्टिक समवेयर एंड रीड इट एवरी डे वेन एवर यू पासिंग थ्रू। 5 मिनट लगेंगे हार्डली, ऐसे ही वो रिकॉल होगा। देन समडे डिस्कस, वेन एवर you're discussing provisions with your friends or anyone, discuss it with quoting section, because ऐसे क्या होगा, whenever quoting the section becomes our daily habit, we will get it right। देखो ये एक फैक्ट है कि इवन द टॉप मोस्ट सीए हुज इनटू प्रैक्टिस फॉर सो मेनी इयर्स आल्सो, उनको भी सारे सेक्शन सब सेक्शंस याद नहीं रहते, बट उनको जो याद रहता है हाउ इट गेट्स इनटू देयर माइंड इज बिकॉज ऑफ दे continuously using it every day in their language। So you have to adopt the same habit, because abhi there is this one chapter, then there would be entire module, and then there would be entire direct tax, and then there would be indirect tax, there would be so many things you have to remember। So this is how continuously revisiting it would make it happen। अगर एक बारी में याद नहीं हो रहा, डोंट वरी कि याद होगा ही नहीं, जितनी बारी उसको रिविजिट करोगे उतनी बारी इट वुड गेट बेटर। आज मुझसे पूछो, I can easily tell anytime what is section 32, what is section 36, what is section 37, 35D, 35AD, and 35। But yes, if someone ekdam se come and ask me which is the section of tea, coffee, rubber development, I also sit back and think कि हाँ what is the section number। So all I'm trying to say is जो daily use में होते हैं, जो daily language में होते हैं, वो आ जाएंगे धीरे धीरे। बाकी जो particular है उनको रिविजिट करते रहो करते रहो करते रहो, सब आ जाएंगे। ठीक है, जो मेन सेक्शन है ना जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, जैसे क्लास में मैंने डिवाइड करके बताया, लास्ट क्लास में भी रिविजन में उठाया था, उसको वैसे याद कर। ठीक है
ओके मैम। वो क्या था ना, एक्चुअली जब वो पढ़ लिया पूरा का पूरा, फिर जब क्वेश्चन आंसर सॉल्व किए तो उस टाइम पे मुझे वापस से बुक के ऊपर वो सेक्शन चेक करने जाना पड़ा, इसीलिए
गेट इट, आई टोटली गेट इट। और बस ये है टू एवरीवन हु इज लिसनिंग, डू नॉट गेट ओवरवेल्म कि नहीं हो रहा, स्टेप बाय स्टेप होगा। सी फर्स्ट कॉन्सेप्ट इज ऑलवेज टू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट, कि यू अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हाट इज रिटन, यू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू डू द क्वेश्चन। देन रिफाइनमेंट क्या होता है, वो बार धीरे धीरे बार बार यू डू समथिंग अगेन एंड अगेन, देन ओनली इट कम्स। देन यू रिमेंबर मेन सेक्शंस। देन व्हेनेवर यू आर राइटिंग और सॉल्विंग अ क्वेश्चन, you write it, okay, this is section 35 ka question, this is section 36 ka question। Then whenever you're discussing it with your peers, always quote section। This is how you will get through it, definitely, but slowly slowly, ek din mein no one becomes a superhero, and do not have to worry about it। Okay,
yes ma'am, thank you ma'am।
anyone else has any other doubt? Okay, Mamta, I'll answer that। Yeah, Jini, again any doubt? Yeah,
मैम नहीं
हाँ
नहीं,
जी,
वो जो वो क्वेश्चन 8 से रिलेटेड आपने बोला था ना कि आप
वो
बता
वाला ना
देंगे।
टेलीकॉम वाला, वो मैं इनमें बता दूंगी एक बार।
मैम ओके।
ठीक है, and anyone else any doubt? सेकंड मैंने आपका खुला हुआ था एडमिट हैबिट। सर इवनिंग क्वेरीज नहीं रिफ्लेक्ट हो रही है, जस्ट चेक इट वंस प्लीज। मॉर्निंग क्वेरीज आ रही है सारी। विघ्नेश, ममता, अजित, कॉन्फिडेंस आया, बिकॉज दिस इज वन ऑफ द ब्रेड एंड बटर फॉर द एग्जाम ऑल्सो एंड फॉर योर डेली लाइफ ऑल्सो। Perfect. Acha, so Mamta is asking what is the difference between MAT and AMT. See, MAT and AMT are called minimum alternate tax and alternate minimum tax. These are the concepts you will study when you are doing assessment of entities question. But to give you an clarity, what are these? These are basically uh, minimum tax methods of minimum tax queue, because you will see throughout your computation of income process, you see so many deductions are allowed. Some deductions are allowed basis income, so some deductions are allowed under chapter 6 says there are a lot of deductions allowed. अब इसकी वजह से what generally happen is that even when a person has a lot of profits, they are into profit making, but because of the benefit of these deductions, they are not paying taxes, or the taxes are very, very minimum. So to get certain amount of minimum tax based on the book profit, that yes, if you're making profits and get certain amount of tax, these concepts are introduced. So this is a part of income tax only, where a minimum tax is taken from the SSC if he is in a situation of not paying tax or paying tax less because of all these deduction benefits. So now you will think why deduction benefits are given when ultimately they do not have to be benefited to the person. No, it's not that. It's not simply ki book profit pay you have to pay taxes. There are a lot of checks. After that, you pay tax, and makes sense also. Now, when you are having a lot of profit, when you are in a bigger chunk, so why not pay something out of it as tax? Okay, sorted? Perfect. So now let's begin with the agenda for today's class. So first, again, I'll start with speculation business, then I'll move to ICDS, and then we will be all good to go. Now, speculation business क्या होता है? See, if I have to use a language, speculation is something you are estimating, okay, the price will go up, the price will go down. If I have to say you and explain you in a very layman thing, which I should not hear, but it is called sattabazi, right? Something which you are not doing with a proper information, maybe on an instinct, but that you're speculating the price will go high and then the price will go low. This is something to explain you on a daily basis. अब speculation business actually में क्या है? What is the definition? What is the meaning? Let me just first explain you with that. Second. स्पेक्यूलेशन बिजनेस क्लियरली सेक्शन 28 में कह दिया कि इनकम whatever income is coming from a speculative business would be a different income, ये section 28 में they have clearly told. But what is actually speculative business? What does one mean by speculative business? That is a business which has speculative transaction. Now, what is actually a speculative transaction? That is given under section 43 का definition. Section 43 में there's a list of items for definitions which have to be used for business purpose. So do not get confused कि section 28 क्या है, 43 क्या है, 73 क्या है. 28 tells that separately speculative business have to be treated as separate income. Why so? Because speculative business is different from normal business, non-speculative business, and speculative business may there are restrictions to set off losses because it's a sattabazi, it's a something which you're just doing it like that. There are chances that there would be losses, right? So those losses would are not allowed to be set off with normal business incomes or non-speculative business income. Okay, so they're not allowed to be set off, and that's why a clear distinction is very important. Non-speculative business and speculative business, where clear distinction is very important, so which is clearly written under section 28. But actually में speculative business क्या होता है? The definition of those is given in the speculative transaction which is covered under section 43. ठीक है, ये तीनों sections का interplay समझ आया? Now speculative transaction correctly says what? That any means a transaction in which a contract for the purchase or sale of commodity including stock and shares is periodically or ultimately settled otherwise than by an actual delivery or transfer of the commodity or scripts. Scripts मतलब equity shares or securities. Okay. अब ऐसे पढ़ेंगे तो बोर हो जाएंगे, वो तो you can also read. But let me give an example. Taking 3 scenarios so that you are in a situation to compare, and then you will read it and it would be easy. We'll create a situation. Okay. Normal delivery based shares. Okay. Delivery based shares or securities. Okay. Then intraday and then F&O. अब ये सब होती क्या है मैं पहले ये बता देती हूँ. डिलीवरी बेस्ड शेयर्स पे क्या है, यू प्लेस इन ऑर्डर, इट गेट्स रिफ्लेक्टेड इन योर डीमैट अकाउंट एंड देन ओनली यू कैन सेल इट, राइट. 2 दिन के बाद यू गेट द सेटलमेंट ऑफ इट. दिस इज व्हाट योर डिलीवरी बेस्ड शेयर्स आर. इंट्राडे इज दैट you purchase an order and by the end of the day you are selling it. So buying and selling is happening the same day. It's called intraday transaction or day transaction. So you set off that settlement on the same day without getting actual delivery. So there is no delivery. F&O as in future and options, this you have understood from the technical point, maybe in your SFM classes, but F&O are a way of hedging or arbitraging your actual losses. Yes, here also delivery sometimes is missing. There is mostly cash settlement of the difference of the price. I understand. But F&O, forward contracts, everything, they still have a concept of delivery. There is still chances of delivery, especially when we talk about agri commodity or gold, etc. There are chances that delivery happens. So that's why F&O and all these hedging quantities are kept separately. Now, government clearly told, or the section 43 clearly told, that where there is no delivery actually happening, that would be an intraday transaction. So speculative business, that would be a speculative business. Hence, intraday transaction is definitely a speculative business. Today you purchase a share, you see it's going up, you place an order, okay, I'm purchasing 100 quantities. By the end of the day, you see, okay, it's still going up, and you sell it and you settle off the profit. That is speculative business. F&O, yes, agar prima facie you see, it appears to be speculative because yes, again, there is no settlement happening, no delivery happening, but most of the cases it does. But also specifically section 43 excluded future and options from its meaning of speculative business. So future and options may, if you are doing a trading, it would be a non-speculative business. Clearly, it's written in the exception. Provided it should be through a recognized stock exchange and all. Now, delivery based shares, इसमें normal आपका shares है, you are purchasing it, you are selling it, etc. अब जरूरी नहीं है कि only this would be business. These are not business income. When I'm saying non-speculative, I'm not saying it is not business income. I'm saying these are normal business income and it is different from speculative business income. So I hope all the three variations are clear in your head. Now we will understand how we treat it. And let's take common questions from the practical angle. I don't want to cover what is written in the book just to make you understand. Let's cover it from the practical angle. When I talk about delivery based shares, okay, there can be again two scenarios where either you have taken up that share as a stock in trade, or you might have taken up that share as an investment, right? Delivery based shares. So when I'm taking it as a stock in trade, it would be my business income. Intraday, yani every day, same day selling and same day purchasing, or purchasing and selling, and basically striking it off. But I'm not saying all trading in shares in intraday. No. Trading in shares can be your normal business income if you're not doing it from a speculative nature or from a same day trading purchasing nature. Okay? So, general stock and trade, if you're trading, that is your business income. The quantity you purchase and the quantity you sell, basis the quantity you sell becomes your turnover, right? The volume you are selling becomes your turnover and the volume you're purchasing is your purchase. Simple. And the difference becomes your business profit. Here you get expenses. All expenses are allowed in relation to that business. Even STT or CTT are also allowed. Remember section 36 mein padha tha? Security transaction tax and commodity transaction tax. Every expenses is allowed while computing this business income, just like any business income which we studied. Now, when I'm taking it as investment, the gain here would result in capital gain. Simple, right? It will result in capital gain. And capital gain income goes under capital head, your income from capital gains, right? Here, no expenses are allowed except the purchase, obviously, and only brokerage. And you will do computation of capital gain, you will get a clarity of it. No STT, no CTT, nothing is allowed, and it is given under section 48. So here, section 48 comes into picture. Here, the normal business income sections come into picture. ये delivery वाला part clear? Now, when you're doing intraday trading, it's you're purchasing today, selling today, or you're selling today and then you're purchasing it and striking it off. So यहाँ पे भी all expenses are allowed. Speculative business का computation is not different than a non-speculative business का computation. Only clarity is that it's a separate business. You have to understand it as a separate business, and at the same time, and at the same time, you cannot set off the losses of speculative business with any business income or, as a matter of fact, any other heads of income. Okay, all expenses are allowed. अब यहाँ पे interesting part which you will see in daily life is what is the turnover? How will you compute the turnover? How will you compute the turnover? What is my turnover? Because you're selling, purchasing every day and the volume can be high. So clearly guidance notes and everything told us that how the turnover has to be computed. Now suppose today I purchase one share of HDFC Bank, one share of any NBFC. Okay? I purchased it, I sold it, and there was a profit of 30,000. Then again, I purchased NBFC ka share, I sold it, and there was a loss of 45,000. Now, obviously, you will say that there is a net loss of 15,000. Agreed. But what is the turnover? Generally, turnover is the quantity you are selling, uska amount, right? But here, in case of speculative business, the turnover is the aggregate of profits and losses, or aggregate of favorable and unfavorable outcomes, but without the negative figure. So the turnover here is 75,000, from which the loss of 15,000 has been net generated. This is not something which I'm telling. This is clearly in the guidance note. I'm not sure if a question can come like this from you, because it's not covered, but the main motive of explaining you is to understand it from practical point of view. Okay, so the turnover is 75. So how would you compute the turnover when it comes to speculative business? The net of profit and loss in absolute figures. In absolute figures, no negative terms you have to pick. That would be your total turnover. And basis that, then you will decide. I'll come to other parts also. And what about F&O? F&O is simple. It is a business income. If you're doing it on a daily basis, yes, F&O may. Future and options are your business income. Clearly, it's not a capital gain income. इसमें clearly लिखा हुआ है कि how will you compute the turnover? Same. Aggregate of positive plus negative outcomes plus any premium which you are getting. That is also your turnover का part. Premium on options मिलेगा. That is also your turnover का part. Total करके you see that your business income, whatever is the turnover. Now, why I'm focusing on the term turnover again and again is to see whether tax audit would be applicable or not. Ultimately, हमें क्या लेना देना? Computation is sorted, but whether tax audit would be applicable or not is why you should know how the turnover is computed. डिलीवरी बेस्ड शेयर्स पे भी टैक्स ऑडिट एप्लीकेबल हो सकते हैं, स्पेक्युलेटिव बिजनेस पे भी, नॉन स्पेक्युलेटिव बिजनेस योर एफएनओ पे भी. नाउ बट द क्वेश्चन इज व्हेन यू डिटरमाइन द टर्नओवर, in most of the cases, you know that all these transactions are happening through DMAT account, right? Through DMAT account, what else? These transactions are white transactions, right? So when remember the turnover tax audit का क्या limit है? If you see section 44AD, what is the limit of tax audit, friends? 1 crore. But if the total cash transactions or the total cash receipts and total cash payments are up to 5% of the total receipts and total payment, then it is 10 crore, right? So in most of the cases, for all these, the limit would be 10 crore. If the turnover is more than 10 crore, then only tax audit would be applicable, correct? Then only tax audit would be applicable. See, listen carefully because it can come as a case scenario to you. In most of the cases, 10 crore wala limit would be applicable because most of these are all white transactions. And when 10 crore ka case is applicable, you know turnover कितना होगा and then you get the tax audit. But the question here is यहाँ पे turnover बहुत मतलब कोई someone must be dealing in a lot of transactions, especially intraday, to get a turnover of 10 crore, because here in absolute terms the profit and losses are picked and then turnover 10 crore आएगा and then tax audit होगा. So you have to you have to see very carefully whether tax audit is getting applicable on intraday transactions or not. Normal delivery में हो सकता है कि you are selling shares of the value of rupees 10 crore and tax audit can be applicable. But here, when you're picking everything in absolute terms, the profit and losses to compute the turnover, then बहुत कम ऐसे clients होंगे जिनका intraday transaction का turnover is more than 10 crore. Got it? Anyone has any doubt in these three? Remember last class I gave you a homework. Presumptive taxation is part of speculative business. Would be a part of presumptive taxation or not? So generally 44 AD exclude नहीं करता speculative transaction को from the scope of 44 AD. 44 AD में it's nowhere written that speculative business is not part of presumptive taxation. But when you go to the ITR form, ITR 4, which is there for 4480, it वहां पे clearly says that speculative business is not to be considered, or speculative transaction is not to be considered for presumptive taxation. Because when you read 4480, it's written clearly all businesses except commission, agency, 44AE, right? And when you go to the form ITR 4, there it is written that speculative transactions or speculative business are not covered. So speculative business में no presumptive taxation. So ma'am, can I show losses? Yes, you can show losses in your speculative business. Audit is not mandatory, obviously, but you have to maintain the books because of those limit of section 44 AA. Anyone has any doubt? I hope this particular chart gives a better clarity on what is speculative business, how it is dealt, and how it is different from a normal trading in shares, which is a business income. You want to note of it, you want to ask anything, take your time, take 1 minute. But give me a heads up that it is clear or is it not clear? Students, is it sorted? Mamta, Vignesh, Ginny? Yes, no, are you there? Thank you, Mamta.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम।
Yes.
मैम बस एक थोड़ा सा कंफर्म यानी क्लेरिफिकेशन चाहिए था।
Uh-huh.
यानी कि जो ये इन इंट्राडे वी परचेज एंड सेल इन द सेम डे, है ना?
Correct.
एंड इन एसआईटी स्टॉक इन ट्रेड वी परचेज इन वन डे एंड सेल इन एनी अदर डे।
Correct.
ओके मैम।
So in fact, if I purchase anything through my DMAT account, then also I have to sell it. I need to get the settlement done with वहाँ पे order में दिख जाता है, and then only I can sell it once the settlement is done. Then only I can sell it. But if I go through an intraday in my DMAT account, then I can do it at the same time. See, speculation का simple मतलब है that you understand कि oh the prices are fluctuating, let's take a benefit of it. That's why I use that term to make you understand कि हाँ this is what speculative business in general sense means. It might appear wrong or it might appear wrong to intraday traders because obviously they also study and take through the charts, but this is what the understanding actually goes like. Okay.
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
So Now, questions like this can come whether tax audit is applicable on intraday or not, whether presumptive taxation is applicable on intraday or not. This would come only clear when you understand what is the meaning of the term speculative. And अगर वो खाली सीधा उसको पढ़ोगे what is written in the book, then you might get confused. ठीक है? Question can come from FNO perspective also. Question can come of set off of carry forward of intraday losses also. You will just say a question can come whether set off of intraday losses allowed. So you say intraday transaction is a speculative business transaction. What is a speculative business transaction? Where the sale and purchase is happening without actual delivery. And then you will say, okay, since this is termed as speculative business, which is clearly different from a normal business. Hence, speculative business losses are not allowed to be set off with normal business losses as per section 72 and 73, and hence intraday losses would not be allowed to be set off with a normal business income. Simple. So अब वो normal business income question में to make you confused is written trading in shares. Do not take that trading in shares as a intraday. Intraday is different. General trading, which is stock in trade wali, that is different. That does not make it a speculative business. Bar I'm saying it again, trading in shares is not speculative business. Intraday trading is a speculative business. Got it? So दोनों में फर्क है. हाँ, but if you have a non-speculative loss, can you adjust it with the speculative business income? If I have a loss from non-speculative business, can I adjust it with speculative business income? Yes or no? Yes, that can be adjusted. So the restriction is on the loss of speculative business, not on the non-speculative business. ठीक है, restrictions की list में that is clearly लिखा. And same is for specified business also. Specified business का loss you can not adjust it with non-specified business income, जो हमने 35 AD में भी studied. But yes, if you have a non-specified business का loss, you can adjust it with a specified business income. Restriction is on these specific losses. पेपर में लिखना नहीं आएगा what is speculative transaction and what is not. पेपर में clearly आएगा to see you understanding. What are not covered under speculative transactions, even if they deem to be a speculative transaction, still they are out of the scope, are your hedging contracts for shares, merchandise, forward contracts, and derivatives. चले आगे. Now we come to a different aspect altogether, which is your method of accounting. But before going to that, last class maybe I think we picked this topic. उसमें I think clarity रह गई या है, I'm not sure. So let's see. Tax audit perspective से. Tax audit का limit is 2 crore or 1 crore or 10 crore as the case may be. But remember that if I have multiple businesses, tax audit the limit has to be seen together for all businesses. This is not written in the income tax. This is again given in the guidance note of ICAI. But clearly it says that businesses which are of presumptive or which are being taxed on presumptive basis, that have to be excluded. So suppose I give an example. I have one business where the turnover is 1.70 crore and another business where the turnover is say 40 lakhs. Total it makes to 2.10 crore. So technically, since you say that this is basically your crossing 1 crore, it should be tax audit. But this 1.70 crore wala business is under 44 AD. So that has to be excluded. And since now my total turnover is 40 lakhs only, tax audit would not be applicable. Had this been any other business on which 4480 is not claimed, then you would have taken up the combined limit to see whether tax audit would be applicable or not. And then if it is yes, then it is applicable on the both the businesses. Okay? Next part now, which we start, is your ICDS. Let's start. Okay. So method of accounting, there is as such. 1 second, just 1 second, students. Sorry, friends. Sorry. Yeah. The method of accounting. One thing we know, five heads में से salary head के लिए there is a specific computation method, right? वहाँ पे you have to pick a basic salary which is always taxable. Allowances you have to compute after the exemptions. Perquisites का there is a valuation method given, right? You cannot deviate from it. There is a set method. Similarly, house property के लिए there is a set method that how you have to compute house property income, you have to compute gross annual value, then you have to come to your taxes, then you have to come to net annual value, then standard deduction and interest deduction. Simple, right? No deviation. Then for capital gain, when you will study, you will see that there is again a set method that full value of consideration minus cost of acquisition minus exemption comes to my capital gain. No deviation again. But when I come to business income and when I come to income from other sources, वहां पे they have said us that you can take either of the method. You can take cash accounting, basically when you are accounting the incomes and expenditure, when they are actually incurred, when they're actually paid or received, payments and receipt basis pay, or mercantile or accrual basis. Mercantile or accrual basis, which is when you are doing it when they have been incurred by the business, but maybe the payment or the receipt is still due. Okay, but you have to follow a consistent method for it. You cannot do 1 year cash and second year mercantile. That is not right. Okay, so this is on the SSC to adopt. ऐसा कहीं नहीं come that you have to adopt this method or this method. Whichever method you follow, you have to consistently follow. Even after saying so, there are certain incomes which are always calculated on cash basis, which are your interest income received for compensation or enhanced compensation, interest on enhanced compensation or compensation, some escalation price when it comes to your exports, and duty drawbacks, etc. These are taxable in the year when they are received. That is on cash basis. This is written clearly under section 145 and 145B. Any doubt? कोई doubt नहीं है? Okay. Now, coming to the ICDS. ICDS is something which was introduced 7-8 years back, which was a pain point because they saw that everyone is doing something or the other. When it comes to inventory, someone is following something. There is section 45 which says mercantile follow or cash, but do it consistently. But there is no standardization, which ultimately led to a lot of uniformity. So to bring it uniformity and to bring the litigations down, the CBDT notified, the central government notified ICDS. ICDS matlab income computation and disclosure standards. We have accounting standards, we have Ind AS, gaps, everything is there. But when we come to computation of income from tax perspective, there was no standards. There were no standards. So as you see, this is again income computation and disclosure standard. This is only solely for the purpose of computation. That is how to compute income. It's not on maintenance of books or anything. It's on how you have to compute your income. Simple. And what disclosures are to be told. There is nothing additional, nothing beyond, right? So considering that, 10 standards were introduced. 10 standards were introduced or notified, I should say, ICDS 1 se leke ICDS 10. If you see the name, yes, they have a sort of concurrence with your AS and India. But these 10 standards, accounting policies, valuation of inventories, construction contract, revenue recognition, tangible fixed assets, effect of changes in foreign exchange rates, government grants, securities, borrowing cost, provisions, contingent liabilities, and contingent assets. These 10 were notified. यहाँ पे disclosure requirements are there. What particular type of ICDS says in relation to it, that is there. And your study material has very rightly summarized those ICDS for you in 2-3 pages, which we'll pick it up. But before going into each ICDS separately, let's come back to the main point. So I was telling you, either a business follow cash basis or a business follow mercantile basis. ICDS किस पे applicable होगा? On any business who is following mercantile basis. On any business which is following your mercantile basis. On them, ICDS would be applicable. So if you're following cash basis, ICDS are not applicable. If you're following mercantile accounting, accrual accounting, then ICDS would be applicable. Uske saath saath, they gave a relief. There is no turnover, anything that you have to be of this much turnover for ICDS to be applicable, or you should be a company. Nothing like this is written. Only thing is written that if you are following mercantile basis, ICDS are applicable. But at the same time, they have excluded individual and HUF. They have excluded individual and HUF who are not required to get tax audit. ठीक है? उनको exclude कर दिया. So if on an individual HUF tax audit is not applicable, then ICDs are not applicable. Simple. Even if they have business, but if tax audit is not applicable, ICDs is not applicable. अब आप बोलोगे कि फर्म मैम अगर फर्म प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्सेशन कर रही है ऑन देम आईसीडीएस वुड बी एप्लीकेबल यस बिकॉज फर्म प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्सेशन कर रही है द relaxation is only for individuals and HUF. So these are just the standards. Now the auditor will see in the report, he has to mention few things. Which report? In Form 3CD only, tax audit report mein. He will tell whether so policies were followed or not, consistency was there or not. Based on that, he will give his submitter's report. Maybe assessing officer, if he picks up his books of your books of accounts or your tax computation for scrutiny, he will also apply ICDS, and then he will see, even if tax audit is not applicable to you, suppose you are a firm, tax audit is not applicable to you, but still they can apply ICDS to see, and then they can compute the income as per their best judgment. Okay, so what are these standards? पे जाने से पहले few points which everyone must be thinking. Okay, ma'am, ICDS are standards. What if there's a difference between ICDS and ACT? ACT is saying something, Income Tax Act is saying something, ICDS is saying something. So then what will happen? So if Income Tax Act is saying something and ICDS is saying a separate thing, then ACT will always prevail. Because ICDS is a part of a notification which came through central government, etc. But ACT is every day, on any given day, over the ICDS, number one. Number two, ma'am, if there's a difference in ICDS and your accounting standards. So obviously for income computation, obviously ICDS would be the winner. Accounting standard is for maintenance of books and book profit, etc. But since these are income computation method in income tax, ICDS always will prevail over accounting standard. Accounting standard ने कुछ और लिखा है, ICDS ने कुछ और लिखा है. ICDS would go for income tax purpose, But mostly you will see there is no such variation overall, because ICDS are not something which were just made. They were very thoughtfully made after considering the standards approved by MCA. Everything after consideration was taken up. So most of the cases में you will see the similarity. Second thing, suppose ma'am, ICDS and case laws में difference है. Case laws ने कुछ और बोला and ICDS is saying something else. So for all the laws which are there for prospectively for the assessment year 17, 18 onwards, that is from the time when ICDS came into picture, ICDS would prevail over case laws because naturally they are something which is done after all the thoughts, processes, etc. So any judgment of any previous case would not be good on the case laws of the upcoming years, ICDS would hold good over that. And एक question, MAT and AMT, कि मैम MAT में ICDS would be applicable. See, MAT, as I told you at the beginning, is based on book profit. So ICDS are not applicable. AMT, on the other hand, is based on adjusted total income. उसमें ICDS can be applicable. But don't worry, इसका more clarity would come to you अभी when we'll understand ICDS and when you will understand MAT and AMT. But what is ICDS? Why they were introduced? Applicability? ये तीनों चीजें क्लियर है. Then I will move on to the ICDS one by one. Students, I want responses. ऐसे नहीं चलेगा, please. Responses, please. Clear? Chalo, perfect. Now we move ahead and we will see what are the ICDS. One by one, on your screen, you can see the ICDS. Yes? आपको याद करने हो सके तो yes. But question perspective से, I have not seen much questions coming from it. कुछ sections and ICDS almost same है. That वहां पे yes, definitely questions can come, but otherwise इतने ज्यादा नहीं आते. That's why I kept this topic for the last. Are we all ready? Okay. So the first ICDS is accounting policies. Now, accounting policies pe, it is simple that you have to give a disclosure of your accounting policy, that with what accounting policy you as a business being following. Significant accounting policies kya hai, you have to tell them. And accounting assumptions, whether you are following that or not. What are the accounting assumptions? Going concern, consistency, and accrual. So going concern is that you as a business have maintained your books of accounts specifically, considering that you have an assumption to continue the business for a foreseeable future, and there is no intention to liquidate the business. Then what about your accrual? What about consistency? That every year there's a same assumption, same uniformity. Whatever you are considering, whatever methodologies you're doing, whatever treatments you're doing, it is same over the period. This assumption is also very important. But yes, if you can you change policies? Yes, you can change policies only when there's a reasonable cause. Only when there is a reasonable cause, and any change in the policy should be given as a disclosure. Any change in the policy should be given as a disclosure. Accrual kya hai? That all the income which are earned or all the expenses which are incurred during the previous year are accounted for. हाँ, accrual basis पे account for करने के बाद you give disallowances based on section 43B, section 40, 48.2 and 48.3. That is right. That is correct. That disallowances are given. But first, everything is accounted for, has to be considered. Okay? And क्या क्या policies follow हो रही है, क्या policies नहीं हो रही है, everything has to be told. Basically, substance over form has to be considered. Any change of accounting policy has to be told. So यहाँ पे अगर आप disclosures की बात करो, disclosures क्या है? That all significant policies adopted by the person should be disclosed. Any change in accounting policy which has material impact should be disclosed. Any change in accounting policy which does not have a material impact in the current year, but may have an impact in the future, in a later previous year, then both the changes should be, the changes in both the years should be disclosed. Or if fundamental accounting assumptions like a going concern, consistency, and accrual are not followed, the fact should be disclosed because standards are income computation and disclosure standard. So वो सब होना चाहिए. Simple. This is what ICDS 1 says. Next is your ICDS 2. Which is about valuation of inventories. Now, this is something similar to your AS2. Hmm. That's not moving. Hmm. I'm sure, friends, sorry. Hmm. This is similar to your AS2, and also there is a section, if you study, section 145A, which talks about inventory valuation. ICDS says that the inventory should be valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. But at the same time, you have to see that valuation should be inclusive of taxes. But when I talk about 145A, when I talk about Income Tax Act, income tax भी same कहता है, cost or net realizable value, whichever is low. But when I talk about shares and securities which are held as stock in trade, उनका क्या करोगे? Shares and securities का भी same. Cost or NRV, whichever is lower लेना है, but ये category wise लेना है. Category wise means that if I have shares category, then total cost of share category, total cost of NRVs, then I will compare. Not for each share I will compare cost and NRV, वैसे नहीं. Total cost versus total NRV, category wise देना है. And when they are unlisted shares, when they are unlisted shares, then you have to pick the inventory valuation on actual cost only. जो भी actual cost थी at the time of purchasing, that cost has to be taken. That cost has to be considered. Simple. नेक्स्ट अब हम आते हैं कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में. ये थोड़ा सा इंपॉर्टेंट है, इसको समझते हैं. हाउ कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्क. सी यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्क्स ऑन परसेंटेज ऑफ कंप्लीशन मेथड कि जितना कॉस्ट इंकर हुआ उतना रेवेन्यू आप you consider it. So suppose 45% of the cost is completed, 45% of the contract is completed, 45% revenue has to be considered. Suppose अब वो 45% कैसे निकलेगा, that how much is the completion? There can be various methods to it. Suppose that can be on estimated cost basis. That suppose we have estimated the project has to be finished in 50 lakhs, and till now we have spent 30 lakhs. So that means how much percentage is done? 60%. So 60% cost you incur and 60% revenue matching you will take up into account. Similarly, when I say it can be on survey method also. यहाँ पे इतना खाली लिखा हुआ है that you have to estimate your revenue and cost based on PCOM as in percentage of completion, but that completion percentage can be computed in various methods. It can be through survey method also. Yeah, survey is done and then they give a certificate that 50% of the project is completed, then 50% would be taken. It's not necessary that how you have to come to that percentage, but once you come to that percentage, that has to be consistently followed. That has to be consistently followed. In fact, it can be taken upon basis the completion in general terms also. Suppose there were 4 towers. Out of that, you had to construct 4 towers. Out of that, you have constructed 3 towers. That means 75% of the work is done. That means 75% of the work is done. So all in all, you have to compute a percentage based on any method, and then you have to come to the term of recognizing the revenue for it or recognizing the revenue for this. Clear? एक बार 1, 2, 3 में किसी को कोई डाउट? Anyone has any doubt in 1, 2, 3? Sure? Perfect. Go through करो एक बार quickly. Then we'll move to revenue recognition. Okay. So ICDS 1, accounting policies, ICDS 2, inventory, ICDS 3, constructions. Now ICDS 4 is revenue recognition. Now revenue recognition can be basically on multiple parts: sales of good, rendering of services, if you're into rendering of services, or based on interest, royalty, dividends, right? So अब अगर मैं goods की बात करूं, when should be the revenue recognized? When there is a certainty of the collection, when there's a certainty of the ultimate collection, right? And वो certainty कब आती है? When all significant risk and rewards of ownership have been transferred to the buyer. Seller has no effective control of the goods transferred to a degree usually associated with ownership, and there is no significant uncertainty over the ultimate collection of the consideration. When वो surety arise हो जाती है, then you consider the revenue. Then you consider the revenue. And अगर surety nahi hai on the collection, so till there is lacking of any claim or something, then you postpone the revenue to the extent of uncertainty involved. Right? Ab suppose karo you have recognized it and uncertainty arises later on, that is subsequent to recognition of revenue, then what you will do? Then you can make a provision for the same, and the amount of revenue recognized shall, you can just create a provision for it. जो आपने revenue recognize करा उसको adjust नहीं करो, ठीक है? But the question is, when it comes to your services, then how it has to be done? How it has to be done? What about services? इसमें भी percentage of completion method you can follow simply, but वहां पे 43 CB and ICDS 3, और अगर हम generally continuous supply of service की बात करें, so there can be different terms. So पहले अगर मैं short term की बात करूं, short term service contracts are less than 90 days. So when there are short term service contracts, the revenue is generally recognized on completed service contract method. That is, once the recognition will happen once the service is completed, if not completed, at least substantially completed. Okay, when the contract or service is for 90 days. For example, I have given someone a repair of the tiles of my floor, okay, and it is estimated that it would be done in 85 days. It is estimated that it would be done in 85 days. Up, suppose I gave the contract on 1st February. I gave the contract on 1st February. Now 85 days will fall in the next year. So year 1 may technically I will not consider any revenue, as we have been taking it as per the completion method. Year 2 may I will consider the entire revenue. But what if the flooring ka काम is for say 100 days or 120 days? Then what will happen? Then how will I treat it? How will I consider it? Then you can go for a percentage of completion method. Your actual duration has exceeded 90 days. So before closing your year 1 book and year 2 book, basis of the percentage completion method, you will recognize the revenue. What about interest, royalties, etc.? See, interest in general shall accrue on time basis determined by the amount outstanding and the rate applicable, right? So if I follow mercantile system, I know interest income shall be recognized on accrual basis, even if it is not falling due. Even if it is not falling due. What about royalty? यहाँ पे अगेन क्लैरिटी नहीं है. रॉयल्टी में आप सिंपली जो भी रैशनल बेसिस आपको लगता है कि सिस्टमैटिक बेसिस पे है, क्योंकि रॉयल्टी के भी देयर कैन बी टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन. इट कैन बी लम्प सम, इट कैन बी बेस्ड ऑन सर्टेन सेल्स, it can be based on certain percentage. So whatever, when you see that a clarity has come, then you can treat royalty as your income. What about dividend? Dividend based on declaration, basically you can treat it as your income. ठीक है, इसमें भी सेम डिस्क्लोजर आता है कि how much sale of goods which are not which are basis on uncertainty has not been recognized. You have to tell them how much revenue transactions of sale service transactions you have recognized. What is the method used to determine percentage of completion? All these are your disclosure requirements. All these are your disclosure requirements. Go through your ICDS 4 एक बार quickly. अब इसमें क्वेश्चन आ सकता है सर्विस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के ऊपर. सर्विस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का क्वेश्चन कैन कम एंड व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज दैट सर्विस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अगर 90 डेज का हुआ, you will treat it as completion method, that is once the service is completed. If service contract is for more than 90 days, then you will treat it as based on percentage of completion. It can be SLM, it can be agar multiple continuous transactions है SLM basis पे. We will like, ma'am, what is SLM? Suppose 7 months का contract है, continuous transactions हो रही है, तो divide by 7 revenue को every month you treat it like that.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, please clear. Here written, it does not, however, deal with the aspects of revenue recognition which are dealt with by other ICDS. Please clear this line, ma'am.
1 second. Yes. Where is it written? Second point, na, it does not, however, deal with the aspects of revenue
Yes, ma'am.
recognition which are. So basically, abhi you'll see construction contracts are there's construction may given ki how you have to treat the revenue. Government grants may written ki how do you have to treat the revenue. Similarly, securities may is given how do you have to treat the revenue. Right? So जहाँ पे specific ICDS है, वहाँ पे you will apply specific ICDS for revenue recognition. But where there is no specific ICDS, वहाँ पे you will apply your this revenue recognition वाला ICDS 4.
Okay, ma'am, clear.
Got it?
Okay, ma'am.
Read this part also एक बार. आईसीडीएस 5 एक फिक्स एसेट वैसे तो सिंपल सा है बट एक बार पहले आईसीडीएस 4 को अच्छे से पढ़ो. Perfect. Now we come to ICDS 5 tangible fixed asset. Now this is again इसमें basic चीजें लिखी हुई है what you have already studied. When we come to depreciation, actual cost का understanding, we have already studied that. तो यहाँ पे disclosure requirements क्या है? Same. What is the depreciation of the asset? What is the rate of depreciation? What is the actual cost taken? What is the written down value taken? Any additional deductions, like in case of addition, what is the date of put to use? That should be clearly given. What is the input tax credit claimed under GST? Any foreign exchange losses, any subsidy, grant, reimbursement, whatever is there. Total, all of these disclosures ultimately come in your Form 3CD in respect of tangible fixed asset, in respect of tangible fixed asset. उसके अलावा everything is same key how you have to determine the cost. That is actually as per your explanation, all those 16 explanations under section 43 subsection 1, all those have to be considered. Uska guidance wahan pe hoga, there is no deviation. But yes, definitely question like this can come. Supplementary assets की अगर मैं बात करूं, अब you will say कि मैम what is supplementary asset? Like there is standby equipment, there is servicing equipment, there are spare parts. तो उनको कैसे, how you have to treat? So एक स्टैंड बाय इक्विपमेंट होता है, सपोज मशीनरी का मेन हैंडल है बट दे कीप अनदर हैंडल एज अ स्टैंड बाय, दैट व्हाट इफ अ स्टैंड द मेन हैंडल स्टॉप्स, दीज आर कॉल्ड स्टैंड बाय इक्विपमेंट्स. उनको generally they are considered your part of the fixed asset only and they are capitalized. Similarly, there are servicing equipment. Servicing equipments होते हैं which are used for the maintenance of the plant and equipment, right? So they are also generally capitalized. They are generally capitalized, even though they're not directly your part of the production activities, but they're also generally capitalized. And spare parts ho gaye, wo generally they are taken into the P&L account. Spare parts ho gaye, jaise chote chote nuts, etc., they're taken generally into the P&L account and they are not capitalized. Same is basically discussed in your tangible fixed asset wala. This way, there is as such nothing important. Quickly, they were read once. Perfect. Now we move to the next ICDS, which is your ICDS number 6. Yes. Effects of change in foreign exchange rates. ये भी we have covered almost clearly when we did section 43A and 43AA. वैसा ही कुछ है. Enabling provisions दोनों के same है. Monetary items, etc. We'll cover up that. See, when we did 43A and when we did 43AA, utna clear tha that whenever you are talking about any capital asset, whenever you're talking about any capital asset, all the conversions have to be adjusted to the cost, right? All the conversion and change in fluctuations, whatever would come, has to be adjusted through the cost. Clear? जब initial recognition वाला policy होते हैं. When I talking about your revenue account fluctuation, which is in relation to expenditures like monetary items, cash receivables, liabilities, etc. Generally, they are to be adjusted through P&L. यहाँ पे भी clearly ये लिखा हुआ है कि when I talk about monetary items, like your receivables, cash, etc., any fluctuation because of foreign exchange would be taken to P&L. If there's any positive fluctuation, it would be a gain. If there is any negative fluctuation, it would be a loss allowable. Same like 43A. Similarly, any fluctuation in non-monetary items like fixed assets, inventory, investments, etc., would be considered at the time of settlement. Monetary fluctuations have to be considered on the last day of the year. Non-monetary fluctuations have to be considered at the time of actual settlement, at the time of actual transaction settlement. Whatever monetary items are there, वो last day के ऊपर whatever changes are coming, उसके ऊपर you will take. And non-monetary items को you will take it up on the date of settlement. Simple. अब इसका एक एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ. मैंने 20 or say $2,000 का I sold certain good or say $20,000 ka, whatever, and the amount will come probably in 6 months or so, whatever months. ठीक है. अभी February में $2,000 पे at 65 rupees I put the transaction. I put the transaction के 65 rupees पे this particular transaction would be happening. So 2000 into 65 now अभी तक पैसा नहीं आया, right? So 1,30,000 ka I have created a revenue. Now the last day of the year, suppose last day of the year pay, this is at $66. The dollar is at 66. So यहाँ पे I'll treat this 2,000 rupees का difference as my income for that year, as my income for that year. This is for your monetary items. This is for your monetary items. But what about your non-monetary items? See, non-monetary items में एक बार ही once you've considered, for example, I purchased a machine which was for say $40,000 and the rate was exchange rate was $70. Okay, now when I've recognized it as a cost of for 28 lakhs, and now at the end of the year, suppose the exchange rate has come to 75. Still, the machinery would be at 28 lakhs only because the transaction happened at 28 lakhs, that is at $70. ना कि इसमें इतना मत पढ़ना, यहाँ पे डिस्क्लोजर्स एज सच ICD 6 के डिस्क्लोजर्स नहीं चाहिए, बट उसका बस इम्पैक्ट यू हैव टू कंसिडर इन P&L. Monetary items, last day of the year, non-monetary items not to be considered until unless they're actually settled or something. Just पे भी सेटलमेंट हो रहा है उसी बेसिस पे यू हैव टू कंसिडर एंड यू हैव टू अप्लाई 43A alongside it and उसको यू हैव टू कंसिडर इन योर कॉस्ट. Okay. Government grants के लिए ICDS क्या कहते हैं? Government grants के लिए ICDS simply says that you have to recognize government grants when there's a reasonable assurance. That is either when you have actually received the grant, and that grant can be in the name of subsidies, incentives, drawbacks, whatever. So either when you have actually received it or when there is a reasonable certainty that it would be received. That is when it is accrued or when it is actually received, whichever is earlier, उस basis पे you will calculate your government grant as an income. Either received और accrued, अगर जहां जो भी पहले हो रहा है, whatever is happening earlier, उस basis पे you will treat your government grant का income. This is simply what the ICDS says. बाकी government grant in relation to actual cost, you have seen already कि when we talk about depreciable asset, we adjust actual cost में of those asset के value में if any government grant is received, we reduce that from the actual cost. That we have already seen when you were doing your section 43 subsection 1. Right? It is reduced from the cost. और अगर revenue receipt है, you will treat it as income clearly that time. If it is received or if it is accrued, whichever is earlier. So can I say monetary grant for depreciable asset is to be reduced from the actual cost of the asset or the WDP, and non-monetary monetary grants or as compensation or monetary grants for non-depreciable asset is to be considered as income, is to be recognized as income. But अगर एक बात बताओ, if you have received any non-monetary grant, then what will you do? मतलब instead of money, duty drawback, they have given you some type of asset or some type of other services, then what will you do? It will again depend कि अगर आपको कुछ fixed asset दिए तो you will consider it as fixed asset. If some services is given, you will consider it as an income, and then you will amortize it over the year. इसमें disclosure requirements आते हैं same के what grants have been considered in the cost of the asset, what grants have been considered as income, what grants have not been considered as an actual cost of asset, what grants have not been considered as income. The same disclosure requirement goes. Give it a read quickly, please. बहुत बेसिक सी चीज है. डेफर्ड ग्रांट का कॉन्सेप्ट इसमें यहाँ पे क्लियरली बस इतना लिखा है जिनी दैट you have to consider grant as your revenue or give an impact in the actual cost if there is a certainty. If there is a certainty, but it should not be deferred beyond the receipt. So once the certainty has come, you or the receipt has come, whichever has happened earlier, based on that, you have to treat it as your income. If certainty has come, even if you will receive it later, still you have to treat it as income. If receipt has come already, then you have to treat it as income immediately. बस so वहाँ पे deferment of grant का as such concept नहीं है. When you understand that there is a certainty, you will treat it as an income. Till that, if there is uncertainty, you will obviously defer it. चले आगे. तो सिक्योरिटीज का करते हैं. सिक्योरिटीज में देर इज इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग और इसको हम ना थोड़ा सा लेट्स कंपेयर इट विद योर अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स आल्सो सो दैट यू गेट सम क्लैरिटी इन इट. इसको हम डायरेक्टली एक टेबल से वी विल ट्राई टू डू इट. सिक्योरिटीज के लिए व्हाट द ICDS सेज एंड व्हाट योर AS सेज उसको वैसे करते सो दैट इट बिकम्स इंटरेस्टिंग. सी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल we know that securities may they will again follow either the FIFO or the weighted average methods. LIFO method is actually not allowed. LIFO method is not allowed. And one thing is clear, securities may the valuation goes category wise and not script wise and not your script wise. So सबसे पहले let's pick it up like this. First of all, let's pick it up. Accounting standard क्या कहते हैं? ICDS क्या कहते हैं? Okay, like that. Suppose I have acquired any securities by issuing securities. So मैंने एक सिक्योरिटी ली और दूसरी सिक्योरिटी दी. So ICDS कहता है you have to consider the cost at your fair market value of the security issued. Sorry, fair market value of the security acquired. जो भी आपने लिया उस पे you have to consider the cost. But I think accounting standard कहता है at the fair market value of the security issued, right? So there would definitely be a difference यहाँ पे. Now, अगर if I have taken some security by issuing any other asset, suppose I have issued suppose I purchased security and I have issued, say, a car or maybe some gold I have given in exchange to it. तो सिंपल ICDS अगेन सेम कहता है फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ सिक्योरिटी एक्वायर्ड. वो यहाँ पे एक ही कॉन्सेप्ट लगा रहा है कि वट एवर सिक्योरिटी यूर एक्वायरिंग you will recognize the cost basically on that part. But again, accounting standard आपका कहता है कि fair value of asset issued or security acquired, whichever value is more evident, right? So there is a difference. So यहाँ पे as such difference आएगा. What about listed securities? If I've taken any listed securities, यहाँ पे ICDS कहता है that you have to category wise, I'm writing it clearly, category wise value the asset at cost or NRV, whichever is less, right? But यहाँ पे they say listed securities को individually you have to pick, that is script wise. तो यहाँ पे भी डिफरेंस आएगा कॉस्ट और एनआरवी whichever is lower. कहे लोअर रहा है बट एएस कहता है स्क्रिप्ट वाइज, आईसीडीएस कहता है कैटेगरी वाइज. कैटेगरी वाइज में सिक्योरिटी would definitely would be at higher price. Unlisted securities के लिए एएस कहता है सेम थिंग, कॉस्ट और एनआरवी whichever is lower, but unlisted securities के लिए ICDS says cost only. So यहाँ पे भी there is a change. So this is what ICDS and AS says, and now here the problem comes. Now you understood ki why disclosure requirements are important, because there is definitely a difference basis on securities and basis on asset. So then you have to prepare obviously a reconciliation statement for your purpose ki securities value पे कैसे आए. इसकी वैल्यूएशन पे इसमें दो पार्ट है बेसिकली सिक्योरिटी में. एक पार्ट उसका भी होता है regarding your bank securities held by bank, but that is not important. So why Ginny has asked that why they have made such type of differences for the same thing. See, yes, definitely they are applicable and stuff, but यहाँ पे एक uniformity उनको ease out करने के लिए लानी थी, and they did not want different types of understanding. So they made it simple कि whatever securities you're acquiring, based on that you have to consider it. So वेरिएशन आएगा. फिर अभी इंडिया से भी कंपेयर करोगे डेफिनेटली वेरिएशन आएगा. बट डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या कहती हैं, व्हाट यू हैव टू बी कंसिडर्ड, वो यू हैव टू पिक इट अप नाउ एज पर द आईसीडीएस व्हेन यू आर फाइलिंग योर रिटर्न ऑफ इनकम. So अभी तक we did ICDS 1 accounting policies, 2 valuation of inventories, 3 construction costs, 4 revenue recognition, 5th tangible fixed asset, 6th foreign exchange rates, 7th government grants, 8 securities, and now to the last 2, borrowing cost and your provisions. ना बोरिंग कॉस्ट का एक्चुअली में सेम है कि कब बोरिंग कॉस्ट को आपको कैपिटलाइज करना है, कब आपको एक्सपेंस लेना है. कैपिटलाइज उसको एग्जैक्टली तब तक करना है इफ इट इज डायरेक्टली एट्रीब्यूटेबल टू द एक्विजिशन, कंस्ट्रक्शन और प्रोडक्शन ऑफ द क्वालिफाइंग एसेट. उसके बाद यू हैव टू recognize it as an expenditure. Simple, which we discussed a lot when borrowing cost interest के ऊपर we have had this discussion a lot. But हाँ, at the same time, section 14 एक होता है ना, which is expenses relating to exempt income, that also you have to see through it. So यहाँ पे as such, there is nothing new which you will learn कि interest pertaining to qualifying asset यानी tangible assets, intangible assets को कैसे you have to capitalize. As such कुछ नया है ही नहीं कि if I can explain you on that. इसमें डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है? डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट सिंपल है कि व्हाट इज द अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी अडॉप्टेड फॉर बोरिंग कॉस्ट, अमाउंट ऑफ बोरिंग कॉस्ट कैपिटलाइज्ड ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, बस ये दो डिस्क्लोजर्स आते हैं. Last, we come to provision, contingent liability, and contingent assets. This is interesting. See, if you'll ask government securities ka, you can understand it for the valuation purpose. Government question can come like from government grants. Question can come like from construction contracts. Question can come like from your service contract, which is ICDS 4. Basically, yahi I have seen as the trend which has come. Otherwise, I'm not seeing something coming from provision, something coming from fixed assets, because they are more or less similar to what is written in the act. Now, when we move to the last ICDS, which is your provision, liabilities, contingent liabilities, and contingent assets. Before we go on to the meaning, these thing provisions, contingent liabilities, and contingent asset, let's first understand what are certain terms. Provision क्या होता है, contingent liability क्या होता है, and contingent asset क्या होता है? What is the difference between these three? See, when you create a provision, you are creating a provision with some substantial degree of estimation. You are measuring it, but there is certain degree of estimation that yes, this can happen. So that's why you are creating a provision. Right? Correct? When I talk about liability something is an obligation of the person, which is a result of certain event, and that you have to set it off and pay it off, right? Correct? उसके लिए there is an obligation definitely based on certain evidences. What is contingent asset and contingent liability? What is contingent asset? Is a contingent means it's like a possible asset that might arise from past events, but उसका होना ना होना depends upon uncertain future events, and which is again not wholly in control with the person. And contingent liability का भी same है, that it can be an obligation that arises from the past event, but uska existence can only be confirmed after occurrence or non-occurrence of uncertain events in future, again, which is not under my control. इसका एक possible obligation है, or maybe प्रेजेंट ऑब्लिगेशन हो सकता है दैट हैज अराइज फ्रॉम पास्ट इवेंट्स बट इट इज नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज. एक हो सकता है कि होगा, बट है कि हो गया बट यू कैन नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज बिकॉज देयर इज नो certainty regarding what would be the outflow, right? What would be the obligation coming? You cannot estimate that obligation. When you can actually have substantial degree of estimation, it becomes provision. But then when there is either dependency on future events that ये होगा भी या नहीं होगा, or you know that it will happen, but you cannot reliably estimate. You cannot reliably estimate that what the obligation would result in or what the benefit or the economic outflow will come out of it. That makes it contingent. That makes it contingent, right? What does the Act says regarding recognition of provisions? What does the ICDS says? So generally, exactly, just like in court decisions, you don't know. So that is your contingent liability. Absolutely correct. See, generally, when ICDS was not there, we have studied from section 30 to 37 that provisions would not be allowed because there is no the quantum of certainty cannot be determined, and generally no provisions were allowed, like even if it's provision for warranty, even if it's a provision for anything, right? They were not allowed. This was something which was before ICDS. But ICDS ने क्या किया? ICDS ने provision को they have allowed, provided there is an obligation which has been settled in the past, provided you can reasonably estimate that amount, and provided you know what would be that there would be an outflow of certain economic benefits, you understand it, then only on that basis you can recognize a provision as per ICDS 10. See, before ICDS 10, there was no such recognition allowed. But after ICDS 10, you can recognize it provided there is a present obligation, provided they know that there would be a certain outflow, economic outflow, and you can estimate the liability reasonably. You can estimate the liability reasonably, then the provision can be allowed. Say, for example, I'll give you an example. He Sissy has entered into a contract. Okay. Now, base वहाँ पे contract का condition is that if there would be a delay, you have to pay 10,000 per day का extra charges for any delay. Okay. Now, SSC has seen his past contracts. SSC has seen his past contract and he has seen substantially that for every contract, on an average, there is 15 days ka delay. There is almost 15 days ka delay. So now when he has a substantial proof or a statistical data to tell that, yes, there have been situations when he was required to pay damages because of delay, and generally the average day is 15 days. So he can create a provision for such damages to the extent of 10,000 per day into 1,50,000 rupees. That would definitely be allowed. This is the situation post ICDS. हाँ, बट अब ये बोलो कि वी विल नॉट we will not comply a law in future. उसका cost आज ही देते like environmental cost और new कोई impact, harmful impact है, उसका cost हम का provision आज बना लेते हैं. That would definitely be not allowed because it is like a deduction for future non-compliance. So that is definitely not allowed. Contingent liabilities are not allowed to be recognized at all. आप जैसे court case में Ginny very clearly said, because there is no possibility of proper estimation. So contingency based पे है, that would not be allowed. But contingent asset को again no recognition allowed. But if you think again कि contingency regular है और benefit आएगा ही आएगा, possibility है ही है that and past में there was some related income, then definitely you can create a contingent asset. Then definitely you can create a contingent asset, but that has to have a very lot of surety. और इसमें भी सेम डिस्क्लोजर्स आते हैं प्रोविजन के केस में, डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ द ऑब्लिगेशन, बिगनिंग ऑफ द ईयर में कितना का प्रोविजन था, एंड ऑफ द ईयर में हाउ मच प्रोविजन, व्हाट इज एडिशनल प्रोविजन क्रिएटेड, अमाउंट एक्चुअली यूज्ड, अनयूज्ड अमाउंट ऑफ द प्रोविजन, अमाउंट whatever is the expected reimbursement, everything you have to tell. Understood? So that's all about the ICDS. ICDS को पढ़ना है, बस give it a read. Questions I told you कैसे आते हैं, it's more than enough. Rest all things regarding the questions and everything we have already covered up. Sorted? So we have done ICDS, we have done speculative transactions. We did it in a different way. I hope you understood it. Let's meet after a break, and after break, may your people now have to come up with the duties. I will take certain MCQs and one of you big questions so that you can get a confidence on how to solve it. Otherwise, please come up with your queries post the break. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Before I start with any query, except that question is, does anyone has any doubt? Any MCQ? I'll pick up first MCQs, then I'll pick up a full-fledged question. Before that, if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask. Take take use of this opportunity. किसी और चैप्टर से जो हमने पहले करा, any other topic generally, no doubts. Yes, no तो लिख दो guys. विघ्नेश, पूनम, या जी नहीं?
मैम यानी इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड नहीं, बट एक नॉर्मल मैं पूछ सकती हूँ क्या?
हाँ हाँ, प्लीज प्लीज गो अहेड.
मैम जैसे कि हम एक रिटर्न फाइल कर रहे हैं, ठीक है,
हाँ,
ट्रस्ट का रिटर्न है ना?
ओके.
और यानी एक, हेलो,
है, आई कैन हियर यू. यस.
यस मैम, ट्रस्ट का रिटर्न है, तो जनरली ट्रस्ट का रिटर्न ITR 7 में जाता है ना? क्यों?
करेक्ट.
और ट्रस्ट को 12A का रजिस्ट्रेशन भी लेना होता है ना? तब
हम्म
उसको बेनिफिट्स मिलते हैं सारे। लेकिन
हम्म.
अगर ट्रस्ट ने वो 12A का रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं किया है, ATG
हम्म.
का रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं किया है, तब हम इसको यानी कैसे शो कर सकते हैं?
तो वो एओपी की तरह ऑलमोस्ट उसका इनकम्प्लीट होता है.
यानी उसको यानी स्लैब रेट का बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा फिर?
नहीं, वो एमएमआर लग जाता है काफी इनकम्स पे. अगर उन्होंने कोई कोई भी रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया ही नहीं है तो वो जनरल एओपी की तरह ही ट्रीट होता है.
ओके
और
मैम।
एओपी को स्लैब रेट्स मिलते हैं.
ओके
ठीक है. अभी एओपी की व्हेन यू विल डू दैट कॉम्पिटिशन ना, वहां पे क्लियर हो जाएगा कि कैसे एओपी का टैक्सेबल इनकम निकलता है, कैसे मेंबर्स का टैक्सेबल इनकम निकलता है. इट शुड बी क्लियर देयर.
ओके मैम,
ओके.
थैंक यू मैम।
परफेक्ट. कमिंग अप नेक्स्ट, we'll do one illustration 6. Meanwhile, let me just open one question for you, which we'll upload also. एक MCQ करते हैं, एक warm up exercise to understand कि are we all in the same page or not. ठीक है. So, एक्सेल फाइल रीडेबल है? थोड़ा और बड़ा करूं क्वेश्चन? दिस इज द क्वेश्चन. इज इट रीडेबल फ्रेंड्स?
यस मैम।
परफेक्ट. So the first question which you can see on the screen is simple. The question is the turnover of Mr. Arav, who is engaged in wholesale trading of business for the previous year 24-25 is 2 crore, and the gross receipts of Mr. Vishal engaged in legal profession is 50 lakhs. Mr. Arav has been regularly following mercantile systems of accounting, and Mr. Vishal regularly follows cash basis of accounting. Out of the turnover of Mr. Arav, अभी आरव की बात हो रही है, who is into trading. He receives 1.2 crore through ECS during the year, and he receives another 60 lakhs through ECS through bank account on or before 31st July. Mr. Vishal receives 30 lakhs by account pay bank draft and 20 lakhs by cross check during the previous year 24-25. What would be the income chargeable to tax under the PGBP if they want to minimize their tax liability? Both of them maintain the books of accounts. Income computed as per the regular provision is 11 lakh 50,000 and 24 lakh 75,000 in the hands of Arav and Vishal. However, they do not get the books of accounts audited and do not intend to do so in future. और पहले आरव के फिगर्स यू कैन राइट 2 करोड़ में से 1.2 he has received during the year, and 60 lakhs also he has received before return filing date. So Sara ka Sara has been received, 1.8 crore is received through the other than cash mode, or cash mode में we can assume कि 20 lakhs is received. ठीक है, आरएफ के केस में बात करते हैं, can he take presumptive taxation? Yes, he can take presumptive taxation. Why he can take presumptive taxation? Because the turnover is up to 2 crore. This is how you have to see. So अब 2 crore है, then 1.8 का 6% and 20 lakhs का 8%. क्या आएगा 1.8 का 6%? 10,80,000 and 20 lakhs का 6%. Sorry, 1.8 का 6%, 10,80,000 and 20 lakhs का 8%, 1,60,000. Total comes to 1240. ठीक है, पहले हम do not see the options, because options देखोगे ना, then you will calculate your answers regarding the options only, कि options में ये दिया हुआ है. पहले first calculate your answer. हो सकता है कि चारों options में से none of your answer is coming, but first always calculate the answer. 12,40,000 we have calculated. ठीक है, now Vishal receives 30 lakhs and 20 lakhs. अब this information is not valid in the sense or not usable, because 44 ADA में professional के लिए there is no different rate for cash receipts and non-cash receipts, or electronic receipts and non-electronic receipts, right? वहां पे it's simple 50%. तो 50 lakhs का 50%, 25 lakhs clear. Though they have profits, here it's written, though they have the profits less than the desirable or less than the presumptive profits, but they are saying clearly they do not want to get the account audited. So what will your answer be? Your answer would be simple, 12,50,000 for 12,40,000 for Mr. Vishal, for Mr. Arav, and 25 lakhs for Vishal respectively. So we reach to option D, which is 1240 and 25 lakhs respectively. Had it not been written clearly either that they do not want to show, they do not want to intend to go for the tax audit, then you could have said, क्योंकि minimize their tax liability के case में, you could have said that low profits can be shown, but they have to get the audit done. ठीक है, sorted. Anyone has any doubt in the first question? Extra information, see, जरूरी नहीं है all information given has to be used. It can be sometime to confuse you. इसलिए बार बार concepts clear, बार बार provisions have to be done. चलो, now let's move on to the next question, which is regarding Mr. X. अब ये question important क्यों है? I'll tell you, because this year the change has come. X Limited is engaged in the business of letting out of commercial properties. As per the Memorandum of Association of X Limited, letting out of commercial property is its main objectives. The total income of X Limited comprises only of rental income from the business of letting out of properties. X का हमें बताया हुआ है कि उनका main income भी ये है, and their main object clause में it's written that commercial properties को let out करना उनका main काम है. ठीक है, अब Y के लिए it is engaged in the construction and sale of properties, which is also its main objective as per the memorandum. Incidentally, it's let out some properties which are held as stock in trade and earns rental income therefrom. Which of the following statement is correct? X Limited के लिए rental income is the main income, Y Limited के लिए rental income is the incidental income. Now you have to tell clearly कि X के लिए rental income कौन से head में जाएगा and Y के लिए भी. Read a question again before I disclose the answer to you. Why this question important? I'll tell you that. Why this question is important? See, earlier, इस question में it was, अगर if clearly अब से clearly आएगा, because renting of residential property, even if it is your main business, even if it is written in your memorandum, but with Finance Act 24, the amendment which has brought has clearly said that it would always be your income from house property. Has clearly said that it would always be your income from house property. इसलिए यहाँ पे commercial को mention किया है. This question can come even as your theoretical question also, not just your particular question of MCQ. It can come as a theoretical question also. So अगर यहाँ पे residential होता तो definitely blindly it would have become my income from house property, because the change has been brought in the Finance Act and it has been changed in your section 28. But since the questions of commercial property पे still the judgments of Chennai case, which is your Chennai property का case of Supreme Court, still holds good. वहां पे you can say कि this can be considered your income from PGBP. ठीक है. Secondly, what about why? Why के लिए तो clearly पहले से ही चल रहा था that if property is held as stock in trade and then it is let out, उसका income हमेशा would be your income from house property. That is clearly written in the house property chapter also. So X के लिए it is business income and Y के लिए it is house property income, which is your option G, which option 4. This is A, this is B, this is C and D. 1, 2, 3, 4 में option 4. बट यहाँ पे क्लियरली देखो, कंफ्यूज करने के लिए Y लिमिटेड का पहले लिख दिया, X लिमिटेड का बाद लिखा. सो प्लीज लिसन एंड रीड ऑल दी ऑप्शंस केयरफुली कि वो किसके लिए क्या कह रहे हैं. आपको लग रहा होगा कि X लिमिटेड के लिए इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी कह रहे हैं, Y के लिए पीजीबीपी. पढ़ के अच्छे से क्लियरली रीड दी ऑप्शंस. And this can come as a theoretical question also. The chances of it coming as a theoretical question is more high this year. And if both of them, if this commercial property would not have been written, it would have been written it's a residential property, then the answer would be the rental income from both these properties would be income from house property for X also and Y also. Got it? Answer clear, question clear. So please mark this as important. आगे चले. Next question is regarding depreciation. Very simple question. Very simple question. Y Limited purchased computers for rupees 10 lakhs on 5th October 2024, installed the same in its office and put the said computer to use on the same date. The depreciation allowable under section 32 would be, so very easy. Don't see the option first, calculate the answer. What would be the depreciation allowable? Simple, 10 lakhs का 40%, but since it is there for after 3rd October, मतलब less than 180 days, so it would go under your half rate depreciation. So 10 का 40% का half. So basically, the correct answer is 2 lakhs. Last question. अब इसको जिसने सही बताया, I will be very happy that yes, the clarity is there. Mr. Arvind is engaged in the business of wholesale trades and has a turnover of rupees 90 lakhs for previous year 23-24 and rupees 210 lakhs for previous year 24-25. In the previous year, he paid salary of 3 lakhs to Mr. Hari, a resident, without deduction of tax at source, and commission of 51 lakhs to Mr. Rajesh, a resident, without deduction of tax at source. The disallowance under section 40AIA would be, first of all, you see whether he's liable to deduct tax or not. Check. I know अभी TDS की provisions revise नहीं हुए हैं, but to give you an option, whether he would be अब यहाँ पे TDS का revision भी हो रहा है, business का भी PGBP का भी revision है. So एक बारी try to attempt this. Take a minute, answer it, understand it. कि ऐसा नहीं है क्वेश्चन में डायरेक्टली डिसअलाउंस पूछा तो डायरेक्टली 30% करके यू विल एंड इट अप. पहले see whether he was liable to deduct tax. If yes, under which sections. Because all of these questions which we did can come as a theoretical question also and can come as your practical question also. ठीक है, सबसे पहले yes, he is liable to deduct. See, whenever we talk about salary, their liability to deduct tax automatically rises. It's not that you should have a turnover in the preceding year or not. So under your 192, there is a liability to deduct tax, but since his income is only 3 lakhs, the salary is only 3 lakhs, there would be no tax. There would be no tax. So since there is no tax liability, because 3 lakh की salary पे क्या tax आएगा? कुछ नहीं. So hence there is no tax liability to be deducted at source, and hence there is no disallowance if he is not deducted. Clear? Section 192 wala part. Now for the commission, generally on commission, 194H applies. 194H applies for individuals who have turnover in the preceding year of more than 1 crore. इस साल उनका टर्नओवर जितना मर्जी है, it does not matter. What matters is preceding year. That is, in this case, in previous year 23-24. For the preceding year, the turnover should be more than 1 crore. Now, since the turnover is less than 1 crore under 194H for the commission, he is not required to deduct the tax. When he is not required to deduct the tax, the disallowance does not come into picture. But before concluding, there is one more section now recently introduced, which is 194M, which says that if you are not an individual covered under 194H, but and you're paying commission, you can be covered under 194M. And 194M may, the limit is more than 50 lakhs. If you're paying it to a single person in a single person during the financial year, then you have to deduct the tax. So 194H is not applicable, but 194M is definitely applicable. That means he is liable to deduct tax on 51 lakhs, and he did not deduct the tax, and he did not deduct the tax. So khali why I'm explaining it in detail, that do not leave your answer ki 194H mein to is not liable. No, 194M is another provision applicable, and usme he did not deduct the tax. So 51 lakhs would be disallowed to an extent of 30% under 40A IA. Had this person been non-resident, then 194M is not applicable. तब कोई particular disallowance would not have resulted. All these provisions continuously back to back, you have to and fro see. Question kabhi bhi, in fact, PGBP ka question would not only be purely based on PGBP. There can be some elements of capital gain, some elements of TDS, some elements of aggregation of income. So you have to be very much on your understanding कि कहाँ कौन सा चीज applicable है. Why I'm doing it? This is how you have to analyze it in the exam also. So यहाँ पे disallowance would come to 51 lakh का 30%, which is 15 lakh 30,000. The answer is C. चारों MCQs में किसी को कोई doubt? And interesting is any of them can come as a theoretical question also. Okay, honestly, did you students attempt these full-fledged questions which are given in your exercise at the end of the chapter? Did you try to attempt it? Do you get the answer right? किसी ने honestly attempt किया था, because now we will come to one such question to tell you how you have to attempt it. It can happen. Achha, except question 6 I have done all, because I am picking up question 6. That's why you've done it all. No worries, no worries. So Pingu Trading Private Limited का, yeah.
एक्चुअली वो क्वेश्चन थोड़ा लेंदी था ना, इसीलिए मैंने थोड़ा उसको पेंडिंग रखा, बाकी के पहले कर दिए थे.
नो वरीज, अभी हम उसको उठाएंगे स्पेसिफिकली, बिकॉज उसमें बहुत सारे प्रोविजंस आर ओवरलैपिंग. किसी को भी MCQs में कोई doubt, how to attempt it, how to create that mindset, obviously it will come with more practice, but please just don't directly do the question and answer, देख के question मत करना. Do the question, read the question, do the answer, and then match it. Because I've seen a psyche, you then contemplate yourself on those 4 part only, and then you do forget certain provisions. क्योंकि बाकी options भी guys जो दिए होंगे, it would be to confuse you only. So if you will see the option first, then you will be on those answers. बहुत सारे adjustments इस question में, almost 10 adjustments है. So let's start this particular question. We will read it, we will mark it, we will think what has to be done. Okay, how these questions have to be attempted. Everyone on the screen, we are into the books of accounts of Pingu Trading Limited, having business of agriculture produce consumer items. Why I'm highlighting this also? Because agar just in case this person is a manufacturer, then additional depreciation has to be given. No problem, Ginny. You are attempting, you are very much participating in the class. Very good, no problem. Okay. So now I was telling you why I'm highlighting the business also. Because business से भी related adjustments can come, like for depreciation, maybe for particular sections under 33, 35, etc. So that's why I have to highlight कि वो क्या कर रहे हैं. So into business of agriculture produce consumer items and other products for the year ended 31st March 2025. This is his trading account. We are given opening stock, we are given purchases, we are given closing stock, sales, gross profit. ठीक है. Payroll account में what all item is given? Bonus to staff. Either I'm marking it whether 43B has to be seen or not. Rent of premises, advertisement, bad debts, written off actually, again, interest on loans पे भी, depreciation has to be added back, goods and services tax, demand paid. Demand मतलब penalty है, demand है, let's see. Miscellaneous expenses, net profit दिया हुआ है, okay. Income tax refund is given. Warehousing charges are given as income. Okay, interesting. Now let's come to the adjustment. Bhari adjustments hai. On scrutiny of records, the following information and details were extracted and gathered. There was a survey under section 133A on the business premises on 31st March 25, and it was revealed that the value of closing stock of 31st March was 8,75,000 and a sale of 75,000 was made on 13th March 2025, which was not recorded. हमने opening stock कितना लिया है? 375, but इन्होंने opening stock कितना लिया है? 8,75,000, ठीक है? The value of the closing stock after considering these facts on the basis of inventory prepared by the department worked out to 1,250, which was accepted to be correct and not disputed. Okay. Income tax refund includes 4,570 of interest. ठीक है. So income tax refund का भी एक entry है. Interesting. Bonus to staff 7,500 paid in the month of December, which was provided in the books on 31st March. यानी bonus जो हमारा ऊपर दिया हुआ है, कितने का bonus दिया हुआ है? 47,500 का. इसमें से we have to consider 7,500 paid नहीं हुआ till the return filing. Rent of premises 55 incurred on repairs. Include 15,000 towards penalty for non-fulfillment of contract. Lawyer for taking opinion on disputed matter. The junior advocate. Is it better now? The junior advocate of High Court normally charge only 25,000 for the same amount of 1 lakh paid on electoral trust. Okay. Goods and services tax demand paid includes 5,300 charge as penalty for delay in filing of returns and 12,750 towards interest for delay in deposit of tax. Oh God. Company made an investment of 25 lakhs. See, I am not rushing the question. I'm clearly reading each adjustment. People do it like, okay, we'll pick up the question and then we'll pick up the adjustment. एक बारी 5 मिनट लगा के question के adjustment, read it carefully. Company made an investment of 25 lakhs on the construction of warehouse in rural area for the purpose of storage of agriculture produce. This was made available for use from 15th of September, and the income from this activity is credited in P&L under warehousing charges. Warehousing charges 35 AD. Depreciation under income tax is 65,000, and the last is interest on loan includes an amount of 80,000 paid to Mr. X, a resident on which tax was not deducted. Whew. A lot of things. So, compute the income for Pingu trading, ignoring MAT provisions of section 115 BAA. ये अगर नहीं लिखा होगा तो you will assume them. Let's start. $33,90,000 से let's pick it up. हमें बुक प्रॉफिट से नहीं लेना देना. We'll start with 33,90,000. सबसे पहले फर्स्ट एडजस्टमेंट इज ऑफ दिस 113A वाला, इसको मैं बाद में करूंगी. इनकम टैक्स रिफंड का लिखा है 4570 इज इंटरेस्ट. गाइस, इंटरेस्ट हो ना हो, what we'll do is we have to compute the total income or we have to compute the business income. क्वेश्चन में ये देखो, we have to compute the total income. ठीक है, सो बिजनेस इनकम नहीं करना. अब क्या होगा आउट ऑफ दिस पीजीबीपी में, आई एम राइटिंग पीजीबीपी हियर, पूरा का पूरा 20,000 हैज टू बी रिमूव. व्हाई फुल 20,000? बिकॉज इनकम टैक्स रिफंड है ना. अब व्हेन आई एम नॉट गिविंग अ डिडक्शन ऑफ इनकम टैक्स, हाउ विल आई शो इनकम ऑफ इनकम टैक्स रिफंड? नो, नॉट पॉसिबल. सो जब टैक्स पे करने का डिडक्शन नहीं मिलता, रिफंड का इनकम क्यों ट्रीट होगा? सो 20,000 हैज बीन रिमूव, बट एट द सेम टाइम आई हैव टू बी केयरफुल दैट other sources में I have to show 4570 as interest on income tax refund. इसलिए मैंने यहाँ पे लिख लिया. ठीक है, this is how I am doing. You can make a rough calculation and then you can do a detailed question. Fair enough. The next adjustment is for, and जो adjustment करते जाओ फ्रेंड्स, उसको टिक करते जाना. ठीक है, next adjustment is for bonus. 7,500 is not paid, would be disallowed. This 7,500 would be disallowed. But एक second. Bonus to staff 47,500. Bonus to staff was paid in the month of December 24. Return filing का date. ठीक है. Sorry. ओहो, see, अब ये मिस्टेक हो गया ना. Bonus to staff, which we are saying कि 7,500 is paid in December 24. Why December 25 we are saying? Which was provided in the books of 31st March 24. यानी previous year की books का bonus था जो इस साल पे हुआ, जो which is paid this year. Now, since it's clearly written that this includes the amount of 7,500, which is for the previous year, is paid this year, not a problem. Had Had my bonus to staff did not include this 7,500 rupees. Had my bonus to staff did not include this 7,500 rupees. That means वो पिछले साल का होता. इस साल they are paying it after the return filing period. Had this been paid after the return filing period, so this would have been an allowable expenditure of this year because it would have been a disallowance of the preceding year. अगर ये include नहीं लिखा होता, that means कि this is an additional deduction which I should have been allowed because as per 43B, it would have been disallowed in the preceding year, but since it has been paid this year, it would have been allowed. But since it already is included in my bonus to staff figure, it is already included in my bonus to staff figure, so I'll make no adjustment for this. See, this error I also did, so ध्यान रखना, no adjustment. Next is rent on premises of 5,500 incurred on repairs. अब repairs पे आपने 5,500 किया तो there is no problem as such. अब यहाँ पे if you are not authorized, it does not mean if that expenses has been incurred and it would definitely lead into certain efficiency, that is allowed. So this line is just for confusing you. Because repairs का section आता है 30 में कुछ ऐसा नहीं लिखा. 30 में लिखा है if the assessee incurs it is a revenue repair, it would be allowed. So it's just to confuse you. So again, no adjustment here. No, advertisement expenses include an amount of 2,500 paid for advertisement published in the souvenir issued by a political party. The payment is made by an account paycheck. Account paycheck है fine, but this 2,500 friend is not allowed because as per section 37, it is critically disallowed. Any advertisement in a public souvenir is disallowed. So I will add this 2,500. Now, at the same time, I will also write it here कि 80G में I have to take this impact. 80GG, what is the section? 80GGB. This is a company. Yeah, so 80GGB. क्योंकि donation to political party gets covered there. Then next adjustment is about 15,000 paid for miscellaneous expenses पे आ जाते हैं, ठीक है. 15,000 is paid towards penalty for non-fulfillment of delivery contract or sale, etc. See, penalty for breach of contract is allowed, so this is not an issue. 1 lakh paid to wife of director, 25,000 is something the fair market value of the same work. So this is an excess expense. This would be disallowed. How much would be disallowed? 75,000 would be disallowed under section 40A subsection 2. So plus 75,000. Then payment made to electoral trust, definitely again it will go under a deduction. So this is disallowed. This will go as deduction under 80GGB again. But it would be disallowed as an expenditure. हो सकता है आपका फ्रेंड को और आपका आंसर मैच करे. It can happen that your friend and you have the same answer, but that friend has made the deductions may adjustment, you have made no adjustment in the business expenditure, so your net steps are wrong. Both will come to the same aspect only. Both are resulting in reduction of income, but since you will not give the impact correctly in the same head, in the correct head, your answer would vary and step marks would go. Next is 5,300. Okay. Goods and services tax may penalties of 5,300 and 12,750 is for interest. See, interest is allowed, penalty is not allowed. Penalty for breach of law is not allowed, so 5,300 would be disallowed. और दूसरा depreciation as per books और depreciation 65,000 है, तो दोनों उठा लेते हैं. So disallowing 5,300, penalty not allowed. And depreciation को add back करूंगी 71,500 and reduce करूंगी 65,000. और कोई एंट्री रहेगा? आई थिंक एक TDS का था. Interest on loan includes an amount of 80,000 paid to Mr. X, a resident, on which tax was not deducted. Now, since I'm a company assessee, blindly मत follow कर लेना. Company assessee हूँ, company assessee को TDS काटना ही पड़ता है. I did not deduct it, so 30% would be disallowed. But अगर इस पे कोई information है that it was deducted before return filing date, then no impact. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट पीजीबीपी इनकम. नो, अभी हमने इनकम साइड्स तो देखी नहीं. इनकम साइड में वेयर हाउसिंग चार्जेस 35 एडी है, तो ये अलग से 35 एडी की स्पेसिफाइड बिजनेस का इनकम बनेगा, उसमें जाएगा. ठीक है. सो नॉर्मल बिजनेस में से दिस इज ऑल द एडजस्टमेंट्स. आर वी ऑल ऑन द सेम पेज? क्विकली डू द कैलकुलेशन फॉर मी कि कितना आया. 3390 माइनस 20 प्लस 2500 प्लस 75 plus 1 lakh plus 5300 plus 71,500 minus 65 plus 24. Someone please help me out. 35, thank you so much. 35, 83. See, marking करनी पड़ेगी वरना you will miss it. 35, 83, 300. 35 lakh 83,300 is for PGBP business 1. Business 2 में 15 lakh is their income, but capital expenditure उन्होंने लिखा हुआ है ना, कितना मिला? 25 lakhs किया था. ये 35 80 का जिसमें, हाँ, 25 lakhs किया था, तो वो पूरा का पूरा अलाउड होगा. So there is a loss of 10 lakhs in specified business. ठीक है. So 10 lakhs का this loss, but this 10 lakhs cannot be adjusted anywhere. This would be carry forwarded. Specified business का loss cannot be adjusted, तो इसको profit में से, total income में से minus मत करना guys. Write separately 10 lakhs and write it carry forwarded since it cannot be adjusted with any other income. Zero में क्यों error आ रहा है? ओहो, एक एक एडजस्टमेंट तो रह गई. इसको यहाँ से माइनस तो किया ही नहीं. minus 15 lakhs, yes. This comes to 2083 300. देखा, ऐसे ऐसे एरर्स होते हैं. Even if all concept goes right, this is the stupid error we do. This is specified business, this is your non-specified business. अब एक एडजस्टमेंट जो हमने सर्वे का नहीं करा था, let's do that also. Okay. सर्वे की वजह से ओपनिंग स्टॉक चेंज हो गया, 8,75,000 हो गया. सेल्स में 75,000 इंक्रीज कर दिया. ओके. एंड क्लोजिंग स्टॉक को भी रिवर्क कर दिया 12,50,000 को. हमें ओके. नाउ विल वर्क अपॉन द करेक्ट प्रॉफिट. इसको यहाँ पे करते हैं. What are the figures? 875, 75 and 2050. इसको 875 करो, इसको 55 को 156 हो जाएगा. 5625 and this is 870 1250. Recompute this particular gross profit. Huh? 629 and 3625. This comes to 3295. Correct? परफेक्ट। और कितने का ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट का वेरिएशन आ गया बिकॉज ऑफ ऑल दीज एडजस्टमेंट? कम्स टू 3 लाख 375. Yes. So now this 375 has to be added back. But remember, this 375 was actually caught hold in a survey. A survey may undisclosed income हो. Remember, undisclosed entry not made, sales not credit not recorded, or in the undisclosed valuations. ये सब undisclosed income का part होता है section 69, 68B. Remember? So this 3,75,000 is an undisclosed income. इसको normal income नहीं treat करोगे. इस पे tax would also be different. And there would be no adjustment of any deductions, any profit from this particular type of income. Remember that, okay? Please clearly उसको 375 को add करो to compute your business income, but this has to be considered all the way alone. कहाँ गया हमारा computation? 2833 plus 375, which comes to 2458,300. So non-specified business done, specified business done, losses done, सब कुछ done. Other sources में एक ही income जा रहा है 4570. Total income comes to 24,8300 plus 24,58,300 plus 4,570, which comes to 708 plus 12562. No. 2462,870. This 10 lakh has to be carry forwarded. This 10 lakh has to be carry forwarded. ऐसे exam में मत करना. This is just for your practice. ठीक है? Exam में you have to write it clearly. But from 2462,870, you will get a deduction of 2,500. You will get a deduction of 1 lakh. Net income comes to 2360,370. Okay, thank you, Ginny. ये क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस के लिए ऐसे कर सकते हो, बट पेपर में अब इसको या तो देयर इज वन अप्रोच, either you solve the entire question roughly like this and then you make it properly with working notes, but all the adjustment only these should be written. Why you're making that adjustment should be part of your working note. For each adjustment you have to tell the reason. Do not do it like okay done, adjustment done. And if I'm not doing any adjustment, uske liye bhi I have to write it as working note. If I did not make an adjustment of the bonus, or I did not make an adjustment for that one more thing which was given, we did not make an adjustment for it. ये 5,500 of rent agreement. You have to write the reasons for it. Do not leave any adjustment, even if there is no adjustment required for it, unwritten in the exam. Write the reason for it in your exams. Baki presentation wise, you have to go it step by step. So one thing is that you can do it roughly. We tried solving this question and I think we did it in 20 minutes. Paper with 20 minutes अगर full fledged 16 marks में लग रहे हैं, fair enough. कोई issue नहीं है. We read it, we discussed it. So जो discussion में time लगा, that you can put it in while you are writing the reasons for it. So 20-25 minutes in this type of question is fair enough. Totally fair enough. Timer के साथ. But देखो कैसे कैसे stupid error हुए. मैंने adjustment of specified business ले तो लिया, but I did not reduce it from here. This 15 lakhs. ठीक है? This was one stupid adjustment. Years वहां पे clearly दिया हुआ है bonus stuff का, but I did not focus on the year. I just went, okay, 7,500 paid after December है. That means it is after return filing period and I was going to disallow it. But I did not see that this is of the preceding year. I did not see it was of the preceding year. Once I saw it is of the preceding year, ऐसा नहीं है कि immediately you have to disallow it. But since it was already included it, there is no impact to be done. So these errors which I did, this can be done by anyone again. सो ये सारी चीजें जितना क्वेश्चंस करोगे उतना बेटर होगा. एंड आई टोल्ड यू ये आंसर स्टिल मैच हो सकता है. मे बी 1 लाख का आपने एडजस्टमेंट इधर उधर ऐड बैक करके इधर लेस नहीं किया, उन्होंने एडजस्टमेंट नहीं किया, बट दे विल चेक स्टेज वाइज आंसर, दे विल चेक दिस, दे विल चेक दिस पर्टिकुलर आंसर, दे विल चेक दिस पर्टिकुलर मैच, देन दे विल चेक दिस पर्टिकुलर मैच. सो प्लीज डू नॉट बी अंडर इम्प्रेशन दैट फाइनल आंसर मैच हो गया दैट मीन्स वी आर ऑल करेक्ट. दे विल डू स्टेप मार्किंग, दे विल think of everything, and if you have not written the reason for any of these adjustments, you will not get the marks of it. So people do PGBP correctly, but then also they do not get it. So 16 marks, timer लगा के, if you can do this question in 20 to 25 minutes, it's not a bad deal. अब उसको कैसे present करना है, I have told you. Everyone, is it clear? जितना error you will do at the practice time, उतना solid you will be at the time of your exam. So do as many questions as you can. If you have left it, do not worry about it. Ginny, to your question of that question 8, whatever is done in module right now, take it as your correct answer. Though I will have a strong case with them in the sense of discussion कि I don't think this should be done like this. But अभी जो module approach follow कर रहे हैं, do that, okay? For that telecom question. Does anyone has any other doubt? You want to do any such question? एक और करना है कोई भी particular question, any problem, any provision, any line which is not clear? जरूरी नहीं है पीजीबीपी से मतलब फुल फ्लेजेड क्वेश्चन वैसे डेफिनेटली आ सकते हैं. रिटन क्वेश्चन आ सकते हैं. टीडीएस एंड पीजीबीपी कैन कम टुगेदर. पीजीबीपी एंड कैपिटल गेन कैन कम टुगेदर. पीजीबीपी एंड हाउस प्रॉपर्टी वाला क्वेश्चन कैन कम टुगेदर. सो प्लीज make sure that you have a sense of it. Heads of income को बिल्कुल lightly मत लेना on any given day. Sorted. I would again request Mamta, everyone who's present, Oja, Vignesh, if you still have any doubt, I would be very happy to take it right now again. Because next class onwards, I think capital gain would start. So be prepared for it. Capital gain is again very important. See, PGBP and capital gain are the pillars for the final. So do not take these lightly. TDS, assessment procedures, assessment of various entities. These are the chapters which you have to do all questions from everywhere. Okay, so if there is no doubt, you can put it in your feedback and we'll meet soon. I wish you all a very happy Diwali, a very prosperous Diwali, and I hope you enjoy the festival also and you study well also. Do not just be overburdened. I know the exams are late. I'm not saying it to take it lightly. All I'm trying to say is take time for yourself also so that you can relax it out a bit. Rest, keep the studies on in full-fledged manner. Achha, there is one question, no problem. Question 7, B part. Practice questions करें?
Yes, ma'am.
1 second, let me go to practice questions. Explain the tax treatment of emergency spares. ये अभी हमने क्या है? Okay, no worries. Explain the tax treatments of emergency spares of plant and machinery acquired during the year, even though kept ready for use, have not been actually used.
Excuse me, ma'am. Actually,
Yes.
in this question, it is related to this ICDS.
Correct.
है ना, अभी हमने जो किया था.
हाँ.
My question is, this is just like a short question and answer. है ना, तो इसके अंदर हमें यानी कितना लिखना चाहिए जिससे कि उतना प्रॉपर लगे कि यानी किस
सब
तरीके
कुछ
से?
मार्क्स पे अल्टीमेटली डिपेंड होता है, सी मार्क्स पे डिपेंड होता है, बट एटलीस्ट हैव अ क्लियर अप्रोच कि रिस्पेक्टिव प्रोविजन, then what does the question asking, and then conclusion and the provision clearly.
ओके
ये अब वो कितना एक्सटेंड में करना है वो डिपेंड करेगा मार्क पे. अगर इट जस्ट 3-4 मार्क्स, अब क्लियर प्रोविजन उसको एक्सप्लेन नहीं करो, बस प्रोविजन लिखा, क्वेश्चन में क्या है कंक्लूड करा, खत्म. बट हाँ, अगर इफ इट्स 5-6 मार्क्स, देन प्रोविजन को थोड़ा और एक्सप्लेन करो, उसके इफ्स एंड बट्स को और एक्सप्लेन करो, एंड देन पुट योर केस इन इट, एंड देन कंक्लूजन. आइडिया
ओके
इज ऑलवेज प्रोविजन, केस, कंक्लूजन. ये हमेशा चलेगा ऐसा. बट उसको कितना एक्सटेंड डेलिबरेटली करना है वो डिपेंड अपॉन द मार्क्स.
ओके मैम,
ओके.
थैंक यू.
इसमें शुड आई हैव टू डू द आंसर ऑफ इट?
नो नो मैम, जस्ट आई वांट टू यानी किस तरीके से हमको प्रेजेंट करना है, बस वो
परफेक्ट.
जानना चाहती थी.
और इस वो पेपर में लिखने का तब कैसे आएगा, द मोर यू विल रीड. इफ यू विल जस्ट थिंक हाँ ये ICDS 6 का क्वेश्चन है, आ गया, नहीं. रीड इट, डिटेल पढ़ो, तभी इतना पढ़ोगे तभी पेपर में इतना याद रहेगा.
यस
ओके.
मैम.
So
यस.
do not skip. I have seen this in habit कि people just skip कि ये तो आता है आता है आता है. At least once you are doing it for the first time and in your first revision and second revision, read purely.
यस मैम.
Paper wale then I will not say it, but otherwise read it. Study material questions along with the previous year questions you can read it. RTP and study material questions तो by heart do it. उसके अलावा illustrations and previous year questions income tax में इतना weightage इसलिए नहीं देती हूँ because they keep on changing. But still, whatever the ICAI is releasing as module, do it. Just do it blindly and thoroughly. Okay, Mamta?
ओके मैम. जीनी मैम.
Perfect. नहीं, Mamta had also asked this question.
ओके मैम.
ठीक है. Anything else?
नो मैम, अप टू दिस इट्स ऑल क्लियर. थैंक यू सो मच मैम.
Perfect. बस all my advice to the students is डरना मत chapter से और volume से. Step by step do it. You would be able to crack it. Okay? So just keep on reminding this, I can do it, and go through the provisions all the time, and you would be able to crack it.
थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you so much, everyone. You guys were the great audience. All the best for festivals and the attempt, and we'll meet soon. Thank you.
हैप्पी दिवाली मैम इन
Happy
एडवांस.
Diwali. Thank you so
Happy Diwali,
much.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Everyone, wish you all a very happy Diwali. Thank you so much, Vignesh. Bye, everyone. Take care. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.